Have you ever imagined yourself in a survival scenario? What would you do when you are trying to survive against all odds? These are 10 survival stories from World War II. Welcome to History Explained. Kelvin Graf was an American soldier who had the misfortune of getting caught by the Japanese during World War II. On board of a Japanese vessel, he heard his captors screaming and panicking. US ships had found them and Graf thought he was rescued. Soon he realized that this was wishful thinking, as the US ships torpedoed the Japanese vessel while Graf and other prisoners were still on board. He was clinging on to pieces of wreckage when 4 other prisoners picked him up in their lifeboat, which they had stolen during the chaos. They set sail towards China, but once again, bad luck struck, this time in the form of a typhoon. They survived and eventually got rescued by Chinese fishing boats. In January 1945, Japanese soldiers were forced to retreat after an invading force of the British Army defeated them on Rambri Island. 1,000 men escaped, thinking they were marching to safety through a swamp. Little did they know that they had to march 16 kilometers through a swamp that was infested by crocodiles. The bleeding of the injured soldiers lured the predators in, which resulted in a terrifying event where soldiers would be grabbed by the animals and dragged into the water, never to be seen again. In the end, only 400 of the 1,000 men who entered the swamp came out alive. A Soviet pilot called Kuznetsov was shot down by a German fighter. After crash landing into an open field, Kuznetsov ran from his exploding plane to take cover. The German pilot then made a huge mistake. He landed to get a trophy from his kill, unaware that Kuznetsov was still alive. While the German pilot was searching the wreckage, Kuznetsov sneaked to his plane and took off in a German fighter plane. After that, he had to fly home in a German plane, which resulted in him dodging fire from his own men. Fortunately, he made it home alive. In 1942, Saburo Sakai, one of the best fighter pilots Japan had, was almost taken down by an enemy bomber. The enemy plane riddled Sakai's plane with bullets, hitting him in the face. He lost sight in his right eye and could not move his left side. Sakai escaped and was determined to die a hero. He planned to do a kamikaze attack on the first ship he saw, but he would not see any ships. He flew for 4 hours, flying for over 1,000 kilometers with the left side of his body fully paralyzed. His ordeal ended when he closed in on Japanese soil and could land his plane safely. A Soviet pilot was shot down by Germans and crashed into German-controlled lands. He was bleeding and was rapidly losing the strength in his legs. He then started crawling through the forest to get back to Soviet lands. His legs eventually gave up on him, making it impossible to stand or walk. He crawled for 18 days, avoiding enemy forces when he finally made it into Soviet terrain. In the end, his legs needed to be amputated, but he survived. He was given prosthetic legs, and after that, he got back into a plane and continued fighting. In May 1945, an American plane flew into the side of a mountain on New Guinea because of foggy weather. 19 people aboard died during the crash, leaving just a handful of survivors who are now stranded some 260 kilometers from civilization. They knew that there was a tribe living in a jungle where they crashed, but this tribe was primitive and there were rumors of them being cannibals. After a while, the survivors got spotted by tribe members. The survivors were terrified, but could do nothing else than offer their greetings and hope for the best. Luckily for them, this tribe did not consist of cannibals. Instead, they gave them food and protection. In the end, American paratroopers rescued the survivors. A Chinese sailor on a British ship named Poon Lim jumped overboard when German U-boats attacked the ship. The ship exploded in a matter of seconds and Lim was the only survivor. He climbed aboard a lifeboat and set out to find land. However, after a while his food and water rations dried up and he had to resort to other means. Lim got so desperate for food and water that he actually tried to lure sharks to him. He made a knife out of a tin can and killed a bird with it. Using the bird's carcass as bait, he lured a shark to his boat and started hitting the shark on its head with a jug to collect some of its blood. Lim then drank the blood to stay alive. After being ignored by several German and US vessels, he finally got rescued by Brazilian fishermen, ending his 133-day hell at sea. 7 prisoners of a Soviet camp in Siberia escaped with help of the camp commander's wife. They left during a blizzard and had to walk to safety through the Siberian Arctic. They had to scavenge for food and finally made it out of the cold and rough Arctic, only to get to the next step of their journey. The Gobi Desert was lying between them and the Himalayas. After crossing the Gobi Desert, they climbed their way through the Himalaya mountainous terrain, ending up in India, where they were safe. After this incredible journey through some of the harshest terrain on the planet, only 4 of the original 7 men were left, after traveling an astonishing 6,400 kilometers. Near the end of the war, an American soldier named Bob Hoover was imprisoned in a German camp. He saw his opportunity to escape when a fighter plane was left without attendants. He took it, flew away, and planned to fly to the Netherlands. Realizing how mad his plan was during his flight, because he would certainly get shot down by his own planes, he then formed a new plan. Spotting an open field, Hoover landed his plane and got out. Dutch farmers charged at him with pitchforks, thinking he was a downed German pilot. He tried to convince them that he was not, but they could not understand him. He was extremely lucky to see a British army truck driving by and he yelled to them that he was American. The British soldiers stopped and translated the situation to the Dutch farmers, who then took Hoover home to safety. Jan Baalsrud was a commando in the Norwegian resistance. When his ship got attacked by Germans, he and his crew knew they were not going to win, so they blew up their own ship, hoping for some enemy casualties. They swam to shore and were rounded up by German soldiers. When the Germans came to Baalsrud, however, he shot 2 of them and ran away. He got away but now had to get to safety. He was wet, missed a boot, and was trapped in freezing conditions. He traveled for 9 weeks, during which his bare foot froze and he had to cut off his own toe to stop the spread of gangrene. After that, he got surprised by an avalanche, burying him under a thick pile of snow. After 4 days of digging through the snow, he got out and then walked to a village where he was carried off to safety on a stretcher by some villagers. He survived. These were 10 amazing survival stories of World War II. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video. For more history content, check out my channel, History Explained.